In terms of obscure animated movies that people rarely talk about, Annabelle's Wish has to be up there. This was a direct-to-video Christmas movie released in 1997. While I never watched this as a child, I vaguely remember seeing an ad for it on a VHS of Dream Street that I owned. Maybe Dream Street might get its own video in the future, who knows. Interestingly enough, I actually searched for that Dream Street tape recently, and after seeing the trailer for Annabelle's Wish after almost maybe 20 years, I thought why not check this movie out, especially with it being the Christmas season, and I'm happy to say that I'm glad that I did. Despite not even being an hour long and something that seems to have faded into obscurity, this movie had a surprisingly deep story to it, with likeable characters and a heartfelt message. As someone that really likes the more emotional tales of animated movies, I thought it would be great to make a video on this movie to highlight how good it was and maybe bring it some much needed attention, and what better time to make it than right now as we head towards Christmas. So this video I'll jump straight into the story and analyse it, because there's actually a couple of different plots that intertwine, which is pretty cool if I'm honest. And hopefully this video might jog your memory if you saw this back in the day, or make you curious to check it out these days. All that sound good? Alright, let's go. Annabelle's Wish takes place on a farm in rural Tennessee, owned by Charles Baker, who lives with his grandson Billy. Billy is sadly unable to talk as his vocal cords were previously damaged in a barn fire. On Christmas Eve, a young calf named Annabelle is born, and that same night she and the other animals are visited by Santa Claus, and he grants them the ability to talk just for one day, something that happens to them every year. Annabelle is fascinated by Santa's reindeers, being amazed by their ability to fly, and after they leave, she says that she wants to fly like them, and she vows that next year when Santa visits them again, that will be her wish. We're also introduced to Emily, Gus Holder, and Agnes. Emily is a friend of Billy's, and Gus is the neighbour of the Bakers. He also lives alone with his two sons, Bucky and Buster, who often pick on Billy for his inability to speak, but Emily is always there to stand up for him. Agnes is the sister of Billy's late father, who wants to try and take custody of Billy in order to have the perfect Christmas, much to the ire of Charles. We later learn that Charles treasures a music box that belonged to Billy's late mother and late daughter Sarah. It's something that he has an emotional attachment to, making him feel tearful and sad when Christmas rolls around every year. On Christmas morning, Charles presents Annabelle to Billy as his gift, and the two immediately warm up to one another. Annabelle inadvertently reveals her ability to speak. However, this is a secret between Billy and Annabelle, as since Billy can't speak, he won't be able to tell anyone that Annabelle can. The two go sledding with Emily, but accidentally crash into Gus's fence and damage it. That night, Annabelle declares that she'll be flying by next year, and ends up dreaming about this, showing her strong desire for this to come true. The next morning, Gus orders Annabelle to be taken away and says she won't be returned until Charles pays for the damages to his fence, leading to Charles selling his treasured music box for the funds. With the payments made, Annabelle is returned to Charles and Billy, though Annabelle can't speak anymore as the spell has worn off. Over the next year, Billy and Annabelle become close friends, not allowing their silence to stop them from bonding and forming a deep connection, lasting through the spring, the summer and the autumn, with Emily also joining in with them. Just because neither of them can talk, this doesn't mean a friendship can't be formed. They're easily able to tell each other's feelings just from their facial expressions. However, at the same time, Agnes realises that she can get custody of Billy if he remains mute, which will most likely be the case. Christmas Eve soon arrives once more. Agnes goes over to Charles's house to sign the papers, and after Billy and Annabelle get into a physical confrontation with Bucky and Buster, the boys lie to Gus that Annabelle had attacked them first. However, when the sheriff is called down to deal with the matter, it's revealed that someone witnessed the whole incident as it happened, and Gus is understandably furious with his sons for lying. It's then that it's revealed that Gus isn't too different from Charles, as he himself has also lost a loved one, and his own rotten behaviour has rubbed off on his sons, making Gus feel guilty and remorseful for how he treated Charles, Billy and Annabelle. That night, after a whole year of waiting, Annabelle is visited by Santa, gaining the ability to talk again, and she gives her wish. It's something that she's given plenty of thought and knows that it's the right decision. On Christmas morning, Gus, Bucky and Buster apologise for their behaviour, and Gus reveals that he bought back Charles's music box to make up for everything, understanding its importance. Gus is also introduced to Agnes, and they're implied to have later married. This is because Agnes couldn't gain custody of Billy after he was given a gift from Santa that morning, the ability to talk again, which reduces Charles to tears. When Billy goes to tell Annabelle that he can talk again, it turns out Annabelle is now the one that can't, because she used her wish to give Billy the chance to talk again, in turn giving up her own voice, forever. But it doesn't matter to Annabelle, she knew what mattered most and what was important. A few years later, we see Billy has grown up into adulthood and has married Emily, and Charles having sadly passed away. Annabelle has also grown into adulthood, still unable to talk after she gave her voice to Billy all those years ago. It's then on this next Christmas Eve that Santa comes to visit Annabelle again, and she will be the one given the gift this time. A wish granted to her by Billy. He wished for her to be able to talk again. And not just that, finally give her the dream she always wanted from the beginning, to fly with the reindeers. Annabelle, now no longer a cow but a reindeer, says her goodbyes to Billy, therefore completing the story. Though the two may not be together anymore, their friendship will always live on, one that was built on trust, understanding, loyalty, respect, and love. Annabelle's Wish is a perfect example of a hidden gem. Having such a quiet release combined with its direct-to-video status means it goes under the radar, and that's really unfortunate. For a movie that was made on a budget, there was definitely a lot of thought, love, dedication and passion that was put into it. The animation obviously isn't as good as other animated movies that came before and after. This movie came out the same year as Disney's Hercules, but is that really a bad thing? Absolutely not. If you have a good story and characters you can get behind, that's all that matters. Animation is just one of the many ingredients that goes into making a great production of this genre. The main highlight of this movie without a doubt is the friendship between Annabelle and Billy. Even though both of them can't speak, that doesn't stop them from forming a deep bond. They communicate through their facial expressions and just know exactly what the other is thinking. I particularly love how the friendship blossoms through that montage that takes place over an entire year, giving us the audience plenty of time to connect with them as well. Annabelle goes through a wholesome arc, starting off as wanting to fly with the reindeers and being clear that her wish is to make that happen, but over the next year she comes to realise that there's something much more important than that, and her act of selflessness displays just how much she grew over that span of a year. I would be lying if I didn't say that I cry when that reveal is dropped about Annabelle giving up her voice so Billy can talk again. The build up to it is done so well too, with Annabelle whispering to Santa what her wish is, and then the camera panning over to the reindeers. The expectations are completely subverted. I particularly love the ending where years after the fact, Billy gives back to Annabelle by granting her the wish that she originally had about flying with the reindeers. That's such a perfect way to wrap everything up. The other plot lines that go on throughout the movie are great as well. I love how the importance of the music box is established, and it was a great way to take the plot line and use it as a way for Gus, Bucket and Buster to redeem themselves after their mistreatment. I'll say that the added touch of Gus being revealed to have lost his own loved one really helped with the redemption of his character, and Bucky and Buster were very mean to Billy, but they see the error of their ways and it's great that they were willing to change. Agnes served as a loose villain to the story, but she wasn't evil. In fact, the implication is given that the reason she wants to have custody of Billy is so she doesn't have to spend Christmas alone. Obviously that doesn't justify the way she was going about it, but in the end she accepts that Billy needs to stay with Charles, and she gets love by her side again when it's implied that she marries Gus. Charles and Emily were also great allies for Billy, Charles showing how much he cares for him and Emily always standing up for him. It's a really bittersweet ending for them too when you realise that Billy and Emily got married and Charles passed away. A lot of emotion in the implication that's given to us. Annabelle's Wish is definitely a great movie, and it just shows that no matter the length or visual quality of a flick, a good story can be enough to make you see past those aspects. I recommend you go check it out, especially since we're in the holiday season. You can find it on YouTube by just searching for it. Let me know if you give it a watch and if you liked it. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. I'm Jay the Taz, I'll see you next time, and Merry Christmas to you all.